But then this is what makes it hard because, my decision to skip the inauguration, what people don't realize, or my decision to make choices at the beginning of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. Like people couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had to assume that my marriage was falling apart.
Right.
It's like, while I'm here really trying to own my life and intentionally practice making the choice that was right for me, and it took everything in my power to not do the thing that was right, or that was perceived as right, but do the thing that was right for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard thing for me to do.
That is First Lady Michelle Obama in a podcast episode released today describing her decision not to attend this year's inauguration. The context of those remarks was a discussion on the power of saying no and what it means to take care of yourself. Joining us now, my colleagues and friends, and the co-host of MSNBC's new show, The Weeknight. It debuts on Monday, May 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Alicia Menendez, Michael Steele, and Simone Sanders Townsend are the anchors, and they are all here right now. Alicia, I started with Michelle Obama because why not, right? You guys get to have all the fun on the weekends talking amongst yourselves, and I'm here all by myself.
Also because the lesson that she is teaching here, which is no is a complete sentence, is one I have been working on for the better part of a decade and still have not mastered. I thought it was interesting that she was having this conversation with Taraji Henson, who is the person who probably did the best job of popularizing Project 2025. So there's a subtext here of I told you so, which I think they both have earned the right to say. And there was a reality after the election that there was an expression, and Simone, it's going to be better coming from you, but on the part of Black women, that there was a frustration with how much they had been asked to carry throughout that election, throughout history, and a little bit of like, we're done carrying the load for the rest of you. And to me, what I heard from Michelle Obama was an extension of that.
Simone?
I agree with that. I absolutely agree. We often talk about the 92%, Nicole, and the 92% is a nod to the 92% of Black women that voted for then Vice President Kamala Harris in the last election. And Michelle Obama stood in the gap for the entirety of not just the 92%, but I think women and frankly men across the board. We hear a lot about self-care, frankly, in this era, particularly in this era with what the news is. And if this is something you do every single day, whether you are on the news side or the side of a politician, or you work for a politician, or you're married to an elected official, it is difficult. It is tough. There was a day, whatever week I had to host the 7 p.m. in the last couple of weeks, that Thursday, I was just sitting on the bench in my house like this. And my husband was like, what's wrong? I said, it's the news. So I do not blame Michelle Obama for choosing herself and also giving us a masterclass in what it looks like to stand in your truth. People don't talk about it enough, but her mother passed last year. And in the midst of her grief, she got out there and she campaigned because she felt that's what she needed to do. Well, the people in this country spoke. Donald Trump won the election by 1.48%. And Michelle Obama said, that's fine, I'm at home. And I love that for her.
Michael Steele.
I can't add too much more to that. I think the reality of it is, and what struck me was the fact that she even had to address it so publicly. No is no. I don't want to go to the inauguration. I don't want to be there. And the fact that the next thing to come after that is, oh, well, there must be something wrong with your marriage. I'm like, okay, so are you high? I mean, what, really? That's your go-to after a woman tells you no, or anyone tells you no? Why does she have to go on a national platform and justify? Why do the Obamas then on the back end have to come back and say, look, we good. Y'all are the problem. And so I think part of what Michelle is sort of leveling up is creating that disconnect for her that is part of her own mental health and her own sense of, okay, I did a job for 8 years for the country. And there were times where I wanted to walk away. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout. But the job required more of me. And I did it. And even in this moment now, outside of that job, you still do not appreciate that. You still want to treat me as something you or someone you can control with your hate, with your anger, with your lies, and your own disruption. And so to see her break that so profoundly by saying, no, I'm not going. I'm not sitting up there and pretending that this is normal and that this is right and this is good. I thought was very healthy. So, you know, kudos to her. And more should learn to do that. I know a few Republicans that could probably learn a lesson to how to break away from stupid.
I mean, Michael Steele, why is she so triggering? Like, why did the right lose their, not even the right, why did MAGA lose their mind that she wasn't there?
For the same reason they lose their mind over Hillary Clinton, the same reason they lose their mind over any woman that has self-expression and leadership and can stand on her own 2 feet. What do? You want to tear it down. Remember, you're talking about a MAGA Republican Party now that are leveling up. We want women pregnant. We want you to have more babies, right? Know your place. You know, we are a part of the bro culture. So men are the defining expression of who our culture and our society is, and women. So yeah, when you see a strong woman, we've seen the reaction of Donald Trump. We've seen the reaction of a number of folks in this space. So it doesn't surprise me. We've seen it now for 50 years. You know, going back to beyond the 1980s. And so I just think it's an important milestone step. And that is really an expression of a lot of other things that have degraded within my party. That a party devoid of female leadership, female voices, that are helping to direct a nation that is 52% female. And so, yeah, we should not be surprised by any of this. The lesson is not what the Republicans are doing. The lesson is what Michelle Obama and women like her are saying and are doing to break away from that.
Nicole, can I just add one point?
Sure.
It's that, you know, Melania Trump was not on the campaign trail with Donald Trump the entire time. Okay, and no one suggested that Melania Trump was not doing her duty. And so for me, this is an example of something that we've seen out of the Trump administration. It's just for me, but not for thee. So it's okay for us to do something, right? But it's not okay for you. It's okay for us to, cut corners and, hoard all the money and do all these things and ignore the judges and ignore the courts and not do what the law enforcement folks say we should do. But it's not okay for you. It's okay for us not to pay our bills and pay our taxes, but you, taxpayer, student loan borrower, we are going to garnish your wages, withhold your federal funds, anything that is due to you, because we can. And it's the cruelty is the point.
And Nicole, can I just real quick, just
this
as
is so
a
fun.
I want to see what my Saturdays and Sundays are like.
Go ahead.
Just as a quick explanation point, everybody is tripping out of the fact that Michelle Obama didn't go to the inauguration. And to the point that Simone just raised about Melania Trump not participating, not doing anything for her husband, we have the evidence of the break in that marriage. She wouldn't hold the man's hand, all right, in public. She wouldn't want to stand next to the man. She didn't want to walk next to him. And yet everybody in MAGA world was like, oh, look at the couple, they're so cute, right? Stop it. All right. You want to talk about a marriage on the rocks? You want to have that conversation? Let's put up the visual.
I don't, Michael Steele, I don't.
I mean, but she put out that book with those, I think, naked pictures of herself. If I look like that, though, I would be naked too.